Hello, world.
And we are locked in. Dave, the wave's still on the road. I miss you, but we have to make it work. There's so much to talk about, so I can't wait.
It's crazy, buddy. I'm here in Ocean City, Maryland. I cannot wait to get back home. But, yep, like you said, it's unbelievable. Like, we can have a 2,000-hour podcast, straight talk, 18 different sports, 44 different athletes. I'm ready if you are.
Oh, of course I'm ready. That's why we are locked in right now. Yeah, before we get into it, first want to say thank you to our sponsors, Magna Loops. Spell it, Dave.
MAGNALOOPS. MagnaLoops.com.
There you go. It's the hottest thing out. Absolutely obsessed with watching Shark Tank right now with Olivia, by the way. And Magna Loops is something that I wouldn't be surprised if we see it on there. Like you mentioned it, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, this really is the perfect idea. It's so convenient, so efficient, and it's something that everybody would be interested in being a part of. So Magna Loops, make sure you guys check it out. And
definitely, and Max, if you use the looped in with two N's, 25 at the end of your purchase, when you buy them on magnaloops.com or on Facebook, you get 25% off. Looped in, INN, 25. Just make sure you use that code.
Okay, so here we go, Dave. I can't wait any longer. Jimmy Butler is officially a Philadelphia 76er to go along with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and Markelle Fultz. They got rid of Saric and Robert Covington.
Yeah.
You want to go in, or can I please take the floor about this team?
Kazo, I'll always pass it to you first. If you want to take it, take it.
Okay. Well, first off, I want to say congratulations to the Timberwolves, congratulations to Jimmy Butler and the 76ers. Depending on what standpoint do you want to look at it, because on paper, who won the trade? It's the Philadelphia 76ers. They've been kind of in a funk, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I don't know if you want to say they're not clicking, but they needed that wing star to defend and to score. Covington was that player, but he's not on the level of Jimmy Butler, and he's not as consistent. So Jimmy Butler literally fits their gap perfectly, but the ego is the thing that we'll get into a little bit more. But from the Timberwolves standpoint, you have somebody that's been almost like a cancer to your locker room, calling out the teammates, calling out the coaching staff, the ownership, and he made it clear, public, I want out of here. So now you got rid of that, so at least you can move on. So in that aspect, I will say Jimmy Butler's probably happy, the 76ers are probably happy, and the Timberwolves are probably happy. But the 76ers, hands down, won this trade. How do you feel about that?
Okay. Yeah, we can really go 8 directions with this trade. But this, let me just put a bow on it and kind of give you a little bit of each. Usually in trades, especially in the NBA, and especially with a superstar, the team that trades that superstar, if it's Allen Iverson or Carmelo Anthony from Denver all those years ago, or Kawhi Leonard from Toronto, you usually don't win, or you usually never get back equal parts. But I really like, to be honest, what Minnesota has done in this trade to get 2 starters, 2 legitimate starters, and 2 young legitimate starters who are, in the new NBA terms, pretty cheap. Jimmy Butler takes a lot of the money away. So now you get 2 starters. And this is what I said, I think one of the later podcasts, 2-3 podcasts ago, is you got to go through Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. I think you can't win a championship if Jimmy Butler's your best player. So if you got to build up through Cat and you got to build up through Wiggins, and Covington and Saric will be, to me, really good pieces. They should be the starting 2 and 4 for Minnesota. 2 young pieces. Hey, this is Karl Anthony Towns' team. This is Wiggins' team. So I really, and like you said, you used the word cancer. He was a disease to the locker room. You had to get him out. You got to give Thibodeau, Coach Thibodeau, the chance. So I like what Minnesota did. But I really do kind of like what Philadelphia did. There's a short term in the NBA to win a championship. It goes so quick. Teams you think that are going to win. How about the Houston Rockets right now? They're in such a funk. Are they even going to make the playoffs? My point is this. They were in the Eastern Conference semis last year. There's no LeBron James this year in the East. We'll get into the East, and I really do want to break down how great the East is so far this upcoming year. You got to go for it. And Philly did. And that was the legit piece. You can throw out Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, Paul George. This offseason, all three of those guys are talked about. And that's the exact piece that Philly needed. They needed the three. They needed the scorer. They needed a defender. Ben is not the greatest shooter. So you needed Jimmy Butler. So this works on all levels. The only thing I'm kind of worried about, and I'll let it go after this, and then we'll go into it a couple of different ways. I just hope Jimmy Butler can go into that locker room and, hey, he left Minnesota with a young big and a young wing, and he's going to Philadelphia with a young big and a young wing. I hope he understands, hey, this is Ben Simmons' team. This is Joel's team. He's the trust the process guy. Philly loves Joel Embiid, and they should. So I just hope Jimmy knows, guys, I got to go here, help. I got to be the number one scorer maybe on the team, but not the number one player. And I just hope he goes in there with a new guidelines and an open mind and try to make Philly a winner. So that's my 2 cents to start it.
Nice. Okay, well, I'll just go out on a limb and say it. I think the Timberwolves lost this trade, obviously. Whenever you lose the star player, you typically lose the trade. But you could say, oh, well, they got some good players in return, and I think they could have done better. What the Houston Rockets provided in the trade was 4 first-round picks. It may be a win-now league, but you have the 2 players, as you mentioned, Cat and Andrew Wiggins. So you have the players now. Derrick Rose is playing good. I wouldn't bet my money on him being consistent. But you have the players now. Those first 4-round picks, who knows what could be. Me personally, I think Houston provided the better deal. But obviously, they're in the Western Conference. They may want to just ship them out east, and I understand that point, just like Kawhi and Greg Popovich. But now let's dive into the 76ers and where they rank, in my mind, with adding Jimmy Butler in the Eastern Conference. Well, let's just start off. The Eastern Conference is way more exciting this year. Our favorite player, arguably the best player of all time. I say it all the time. He is the best player of all time. LeBron James left the Eastern Conference, obviously playing for the Lakers. But now we all thought it was the Boston Celtics. They're deep. They're Brad Stevens, Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. The list goes on and on. They're deep. But then we liked Kawhi Leonard, Dave, with the Toronto Raptors, with Kyle Lowry, and that young nucleus over there. But then Giannis is playing like one of the best players in the world right now, entering his prime. And I've been critical of them. Not they need another star, but I haven't argued the point that they do have a deep, young roster. Middleton is playing good. 76ers were in that mix, Dave, but it seemed like they didn't have enough. And now with Jimmy Butler added to the 76ers team, you can lock it in. I don't care if you want it to be an early locked-in pick. But here you go. The 76ers are my team to make it out of the East now. Jimmy Butler, of course, being an addition to the locker room, like you said, can be a threat, but I don't think he will be. I think, like you mentioned, he's playing for a major market now. He's playing for Philadelphia. He's not in Minnesota anymore. People are there. You have Kevin Hart in the stands. You have the fan base that's rallied behind this young nucleus. He knows that he'll have to fall in place. This is his, in my opinion, this is make or break for Jimmy Butler because you have the recipe to succeed. But if you mess this up now, you will officially be titled and labeled as the guy who hurts the locker room. And you'll fall like a DeMarcus Cousins. Or, Derrick Rose hasn't been the best sometimes in the locker room. Isaiah Thomas. So this is Jimmy Butler's time to prove his worth and prove why he gets the money he does and his talent. So let's see if they do it, Dave. But in my mind, locked in, they are going to make it out of the East.
Wow. Okay. I got so much with that, buddy. Yeah, I love it. Lock it in. I like it. Okay. Question for you. What happens if Jimmy Butler walks this offseason? You said Philly absolutely won this trade. What about if he goes and signs in Brooklyn?
It may be a strong possibility. He may do it, but they still won the trade. Just like when Paul George went to the Thunder, there's a possibility he could have left after even saying he wanted to be a Laker, but he didn't. And look at the Raptors. It's a win-now league, and having him allows you to have the opportunity to play in the finals and him staying. And if he still leaves, you still have Ben Simmons. You still have Joel Embiid, and then you'd have cap space, and people are going to want to play with Ben Simmons.
So you think it's a win-win either way? You would, of course, if you're a Philly fan, want him to stay long-term if he indeed works out this year. But if he even leaves, you still think Philly made the right move. For one, going for it, and two, you never know. And if he does leave and is not a good fit, of course, you kind of do want him out of there. And he is kind of that Carmelo Anthony, almost that cancer to the locker room, and he just doesn't work. So you think it's a win-win?
Yes, 100%, because if it does work, like I said, I believe they'll go to the finals. If it doesn't work, you still have Ben and Joel, and then it'll be clear that it wasn't necessarily the 76ers' fault. It could just be adding a Jimmy Butler is the issue, and then it would have enough space to sign somebody else who will want to play for them.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a bad thing when, if it doesn't work out, you have the best young point guard in the world and the best center. So they definitely have a good future in front of them. But another question I wanted to ask you about Philly that you think they're locked in to go to the NBA Finals now. Do you, with how good Toronto is playing and how cohesive the team is, their 2 through 7 is the same, and they just it's a total upgrade, like Kawhi Leonard to DeMar DeRozan, a total upgrade. They have a great nucleus. You think right away they're, one, better than Toronto, two, better than the surge in Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis, who's right now the MVP of this NBA league, and three, come on, Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens, don't count them out. They are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference to me. But you think the Sixers are above all three of those squads?
Well, first, I'm not counting anybody out. All those teams are legitimate teams. The East is more exciting than it's been in years because LeBron's not in the throne. But I'm going to break down a couple things for you. One, the league is about stars. Golden State has now 5 stars. The Lakers weren't going to win the championship till next year, in my belief, because they don't have enough stars. So once you have stars, it gets interesting, and now having 3 stars, especially in the East, has to put you in the driver's seat. The Celtics are still the team to beat. They still are the team to beat, especially when it gets down to playoffs. Brad Stevens' coaching really does matter, and their depth and their veterans. But the reason why I think it works as well as I do is because the way Ben Simmons plays. He's not a shoot-first kind of guy. He doesn't shoot. I mean, he'll attack the rim. He'll dunk, get transition layups. He can score, but he's not a shoot-first. He's a pass-first. He's their 6'10" point guard. So Jimmy Butler will be the primary scorer, him and Joel Embiid. Ben's going to easily get 17 to 19 points per game just off the way he plays. That's not him looking for his shots, just the way he naturally plays. He's a pass-first. So Jimmy Butler will get more looks. He'll get better looks than he's ever gotten in his career because the way Ben Simmons will set him up. And Ben Simmons will love to pass him the ball because he'll be rewarded that assist, and he'll realize, I'm passing this guy, and plays are going to happen. And that'll create more room for Joel Embiid. I think it's a perfect fit. Jimmy Butler or a Paul George would have been perfect in this system because they don't necessarily need the ball 100% of the time. So that's why I think it will work.
Oh, on the court, I do think it will work. But you said something and it glared out to me. You said stars. Last year, the Final Four were the Golden State Warriors, and they're arguably the greatest team ever assembled. And it's not even stars. They have the right stars with the right system, with the right coach. We've never seen anything like it. I haven't. You haven't. It's just breathtaking. The greatest offense in the history of the league. So let's take them out. You can't go to the greatest. You can't say, oh, the Patriots. They're above the scale, right? Like they're above and beyond. So is the Warriors. So the final 3 teams instead of the Warriors last year was the Houston Rockets. How many stars did they have last year?
2 superstars.
2 superstars. The Cavs, who were in the NBA Finals, how many superstars did they have last year, Max?
Oh, wait. Time out. You just said you can't compare greatness because they're like an anomaly, like the Patriots and the Warriors. LeBron James is an anomaly. He's arguably the greatest player of all time. So how can we use that comparison?
Well, they only had, I will even give you Kevin Love as a star. They had 2 stars.
Well,
Boston last year in the postseason, because of injury, Kyrie didn't play, Gordon didn't play. So I kind of argue they had 1 or maybe 2 stars. Tatum did play like that, and we think he is a future superstar. But my point is, you said stars. I disagree. Sometimes too much is too much, and maybe it's not about just getting stars. It's getting the right stars or the right pieces. I think my gut feeling is that Minnesota will play better. Their record will become better. They lost a star. Jimmy Butler's better than both of these players. But I think Saric and Covington will fit into the system. And sometimes his star was holding back Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, who I think are stars. So sometimes I disagree with you have to have stars.
I'm not disagreeing with that that viewpoint or that opinion. I do think the Minnesota Timberwolves will click better, but you do need to have stars. The Timberwolves have stars. You're forgetting that Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins are stars. You have to have the right stars with the right fit, and that's why I said it's going to work, because not only is Jimmy Butler a star, it's the right fit. And I do have an issue with your comparison, because you mentioned a couple, like the teams in the finals and the final three, final four teams all had stars. They all had superstars. And your one
team... They had two, not many. You don't need five stars.
I'm going to break it down to you.
The Rockets had two, the Cavs had two, and the Celtics had two. Maybe 3 or 4 is too many.
I completely disagree. I think the more stars, the better if they're in the right system and the right fit. LeBron James counts as 2 superstars. Let's not get this wrong. He's a superstar. When you're arguably, like, you're up against Jordan as the greatest of all time, I can't put him in comparison with Giannis. I can't. He's proven to be the most valuable player in the history of the NBA. Yes, I said it. Michael Jordan left 57 to 55. Once LeBron leaves the Cavs, you even made the point, want to get the first overall pick in the draft, and all they lost was him. And I'm sorry, maybe Iman Shumpert. So my point being is I don't put LeBron in there because of what he does. The Celtics had 1 star. Jason Tatum wasn't an all-star. He played great, but if you even look at his stats, he wasn't averaging all-star numbers. But compared to what we thought he was going to be as a rookie, he was playing phenomenal. But he wasn't an all-star. You had 1 star that sat out, and that was Kyrie Irving because he was injured. You had an accumulation of good players, young, really good players who will be stars, but Jason Tatum wasn't a star yet. So that's what I'm saying, and that's why I knock on the Bucks. Giannis is a superstar, but he doesn't have any other stars with him. Middleton is playing really good, especially for who he is, and he may be a potential all-star, maybe, but that's why they're not going to go further. If they had another star, the Bucks would be the favorite in the East right now.
Well, they do have the best record in the league, and I guess that's where sometimes you got to agree to disagree. Maybe we'll have a whole podcast about too many stars. The Bucks look pretty dang good to me. They have one guy in their prime, the best player in the league, the MVP, Giannis.
Not the best player in the league.
Players, good role players, Middleton, Thon Maker. They have point guards. They have defenders. They have a great coach, a good system. Maybe if you threw Jimmy Butler and you threw Damian Lillard to that team, maybe they're not 11-1. So sometimes too much is too much, and I just want to keep your eye on it. The Warriors, this is the greatest we've ever seen, and sometimes you have to take a superstar off the table, maybe not the right superstar. And to be honest, I don't know if Jimmy Butler's the right superstar. But talking about superstars, Max, we really got to talk about one superstar, and I can go on an hour for him. I told you this might be a long show. Zion Williams.
Hold on. I can't just jump into Duke yet. I can't because
Whoa!
I have a couple things. The Thunder played better without Russell Westbrook when he sat out. They won a couple games. They even beat the Rockets without Russell Westbrook. But even I
For
will
one, everyone
hold on.
The Rockets. And 2, they beat the Cavs.
Come on, Dave.
They're not even a basketball team.
I'm going to wait. I'm telling you, because even without Russell Westbrook, they won. But my point being is Paul George plays better without Russell Westbrook, but that team is still better with Westbrook than without. I'd rather have them. So, of course, you can easily pick 2 superstars and say, if I put them on this team, it may not work. Of course it wouldn't work because it depends on who the stars are. But I guarantee you, if you have 3 stars on one team compared to 1 star, I'll take the 3 stars on one team. And like you said, it's an agree to disagree. And the other thing I had an issue with, Giannis is not the best player in the world. When people say who's the MVP of that season means they're the best player in the best player in the world, that's not true. Derrick Rose wasn't better than LeBron James. He was the MVP, but he wasn't the better player. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, we've never said are better than LeBron James, but they won MVP awards. So I just wanted you to just slow down the brakes. I love Giannis. He's a top 5 player in the world right now, but he's not the best player in the world. That's it. Now we can move on to this Duke team, unless you have a rebuttal. Do you have a rebuttal to it?
All I'm going to say is my rebuttal, and I'll keep it short and I'll keep it sweet. Every player finally hits a wall. Every player finally at one time in their career starts the decline. And I'm just going to say, maybe it's finally time. The decline has started. to the greatest player to ever play basketball, LeBron James.
No. Okay, see, now you started something. I think he's experimenting with the Lakers. I think he's trying to see who's going to stay with them and who isn't. He's never played. We say this every year. It's so funny with the Cavaliers. LeBron isn't playing well. The team isn't doing good. But yet he turns it up during Christmas break, and then he turns it up in the second half, and then he has a phenomenal, outstanding playoff run. Now, can the results vary in the finals? Yes, but his play can't. He plays amazing, and he hits game-winning shots. He surpasses Jordan in those. All I'm saying is, Dave, it's easy to be critical of LeBron right now when he's with this new team playing a lesser role right now with the ball. He's not as ball dominant. But wait until things start to click where it's interesting. Oh, will the Lakers make the playoffs? Then it'll be clear LeBron James is turning it up. He's in year 16. My last point I'll make, if he knows they're not going to win it this year, Dave, and he says, you know what, if Anthony Davis comes, we have a shot. Not saying they're going to win, but they have a shot at beating the Warriors. Wouldn't he want to just elongate his career and make sure, hey, I'm not going to burn myself out this season if I know my real chance of winning is next year? Can that be a part of it?
Oh, no. Not me, Cuzzo. I'm too much of a competitor, and I think LeBron is too much of a competitor. There's no way you can be on the court and you can play 80 games, and in the middle of the game in the third quarter against the Timberwolves, the game on ESPN 4 days ago, and be like, man, we might not be able to win it all, but Anthony Davis might come in 18 months from now. There's no way. You're in the heat of the moment. LeBron James is playing great, and I didn't say anything negative about the Lakers. I just think LeBron is not playing what LeBron used to be 3-4 years ago, and that's not being critical. I just think this is just my opinion. I'm seeing facts, and I'm seeing just how he plays. His athleticism, his defense, I think is starting to, for one, peak and starting to come down the mountain. That's all I'm saying.
You make good points. He's not playing the way he normally plays, but I guarantee you he's trying to figure out what teammates he can depend on in the crunch. Normally he takes over games. The Cavs, he didn't have a young roster, so he already knew what he was getting. He knew J.R. Smith didn't know to call a timeout. With Lonzo Ball, you've been critical of him. I kind of like him. That's him. Do I like Lonzo or don't I? Let's see if he can make a play down in the crunch. Let's see if Kuzma can shoot the three if I pass it instead of driving. I'm just saying, I get your points, and they're valid. His defenses went down. He is older. He's in year 16, for Jesus Christ's sake. Whatever you want to say. But I'm just saying, I think he's experimenting with the roster he has and going forward who will work. But okay, now I can say something. Duke, Dave. Call me hyperbolic. Call it 2 locked-ins in one episode. This team, I'm going all in. Don't be hyperbolic. You know, it's the first game of the season. We have to see what happens. No, I've seen enough. I'm going all in. This Duke team, locked in, is going to win the whole thing.
Max, that is so hyperbolic. It's been one game. This is crazy. I think Duke is the greatest college basketball team ever to play. I've been watching college basketball for 32 years. I remember Christian Laettner's turnaround jump shot against Kentucky. I know the UNLV running Rebels of Larry Johnson, Kenny Anderson, these Kentucky Wildcat teams with the great freshmen. I've seen it all. That first game blew me away. It's not even just the top recruits, Max. It's not even having the 1, 2, and 3. It's having the one. Zion can be a once-a-decade player. R.J. Barrett can be a once-every-decade player. And they just both came out in the same year. They both came out on the same draft. And then this is the last, and I'll let you go, and I know you want to talk so much about him, is we talked about it with the Golden State Warriors in a way about the fit. I think these guys fit immaculately. It's awesome. They fit perfect. Barrett, they have the point guard in Jones, who is Tyrus's little brother. They got a couple bigs. They have Cam, who can shoot threes, and he's long. They can pass, dribble, drive, dunk, athletic, rebound. Oh, my gosh, Max, take it away. I think this team is locked in to win the national championship. This team is locked in to break records across the board. Duke basketball is on top.
They do fit immaculately. Now, listen, like you said, now Zion and R.J. Barrett had a group chat before. I think Cameron Reddish was in there too, and they all decided, and it's almost like the millennial mindset, right? You see what the Warriors are doing, and all these guys team up to go to one team, and you were right on the money. You were locked in. Zion Williamson, his jump shot is a little suspect at times, and even though he hit a three, hit a pull-up, it's expected. He's a freak of nature. He hasn't had to use his jump shot as much as others. So that's something that will develop over time. At least he's shooting the three. Ben Simmons isn't even shooting the three. So his athleticism is something I've never seen before. He's 285. That's like the biggest NBA player is 285. So he's 285, 6'7", and broke the vertical record. He is a freak of nature. Sometimes I say that phrase too much. You even said it. But I truly mean it with Zion Williamson. He is a freak of nature, and he could be the first overall pick. But R.J. Barrett, both of them broke the scoring record for a freshman debut for Duke. So R.J. Barrett is smooth. He's Steve Nash's godson. I mean, he's a lefty shooter, scores at the rim, 6'7", 6'8". He is smooth, Dave. He's a first-round pick. Like you said, Cameron Reddish is your third piece, and he'd be the number one option on other teams. And then Jones is a perfect fit as point guard. But the one thing I'll say, there's been teams that have tremendous talent, like Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker are on one team, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins. But what these players do is they complement each other well because Zion athleticism, RJ shooting and scoring. They have great defense, but most of all, this is by far the longest and most athletic team I've ever seen. Like, there's players on this team that look like they're vets in the NBA. And this Kentucky team was ranked above them, and they blew them out. It looked like a high school team versus a college team. That's what it looked like, an NBA team versus a college team. And will they have their downs sometimes? I'm sure they will. I'm not predicting an undefeated season. Like you said, there will be records that are broken, but they will win it all because, most importantly, it's Coach K.
Wow, you finally hit on it. Come on, Cuzzo. Brad Stevens, Steve Kerr, all this. The players are great. But if all these players played for the University of Central Florida, I'd be like, okay, they have a really good chance to do some things. But you finally nailed it. The icing on the cake, Coach K. Coach K will coach these kids up to their absolute potential for 1 year in college basketball. I believe that RJ and Zion are locked in, unbustable prospects because of Coach K, because of their work ethic, because of how they can pass, dribble, and shoot, and then their athletic ability. RJ Barrett and Zion are just can't miss. I cannot wait. I don't care. I've already heard who's one and who's two. Who cares? In the long, Kevin Durant was the second overall pick. Like, that doesn't matter in the long run of life. I hope nothing but the best for both of them. And I really do love Cam. Cam is the third option. He's a shooter. He's a 6'10", 6'9", athletic wing defender shooter. It's 2018. He is the absolute prospect. Hey, you know those New York Knicks, my favorite team, they're not having a good season. I'm loving watching Duke. I'll take any three of these kids to play for the Knicks in Madison Square Garden next season.
There was something I was going to say, and it just went right out of my mind, Dave.
Okay. Duke, Coach K, Jimmy Butler, LeBron, and yeah, real quick on LeBron and the Lakers. I'm critical on Lonzo, and I think I'm critical on Josh Hart, but I'm not critical on the Lakers. I think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. I think it's laughable that people think they are not going to make the playoffs. For one, I want them to give Luke Walton more time. I want LeBron to gel with these players. Kuzma and Ingram, I have been disappointed with Ingram's play in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but give them time. Tyson Chandler and McGee if you put those guys together, that's like the fourth best center in the world. You got 48 minutes of a great center. So give the Lakers time. They will be fine. LeBron will lead this Lakers team to the NBA Western Conference playoffs.
All right. I remember what I was going to say. For those that don't know, Dave, I'm sure you know, Duke has been my team. So I don't want people to think I'm a bandwagon here. I've been Lakers, Duke, Yankees, Conor McGregor. Sound about right? And then you've been Bills, Knicks, Gators. That's about it.
Yankees. I'm a diehard Gator fan. I love Gator football, Gator basketball. I love Duke too. Coach K, J.J. Redick, Christian Laettner, just some great players. Played through Duke through a long time. But these two players, R.J. Barrett and Zion, they're so special. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Final Four, championship or bust, right?
Yes, that's the expectations. I was just throwing that out there because there's probably some people out there who are anti-Duke saying you guys are being way too hyperbolic. You and I tend to be the minority sometimes, or we're very we think out the box, and we theorize, but we think very similarly. So when people hear us, I'm pretty sure most people disagree with us. So I just want them to know, even though I'm a Duke fan, I'm not just saying this because I'm a Duke fan, because you're a Gator fan and you feel the way I do. So that was just my point being right there. But before we shift to Dez Bryant, real quick, Dave, I want to say myfitmeals.com. Myfitmeals.com, we're talking about all these special athletes. You have to have a great meal plan if you want to be a special athlete. If you just want to be healthy, even if you don't want to be an athlete, you just want to be healthy. Myfitmeals.com, Dimitri from Fit Meals. It's the best. Whether you're losing weight, gaining weight, anything you want, you can go to myfitmeals.com, look up your meal plan, and he'll adjust it just for you. It's affordable, it's efficient, it's quick. Myfitmeals.com. And Dave, real quick, because we've had a couple mentions on Twitter, and just everybody's been wondering what we thought about it. Let's just get this out there. We don't have to dive in depth on it as we will Dez Bryant. What are your thoughts on Lamelo Ball? Obviously, the youngest brother of Lonzo and LiAngelo, LeVar Ball's son, Lamelo Ball. He just went and played overseas after dropping out of high school. We know this family has a history with UCLA, but maybe not the best history anymore. So they just enrolled him back in high school. Tom from 386 Hoopsines, shout out to you. He wondered what we thought. We are the People's Podcast. We talk about what you guys want to hear, so leave a comment. Dave, a lot of people don't like it. They think it's not fair that somebody can just leave, play professional, and then go back and play high school. It's almost like leaving college to enter the draft and then going back to college. Are you okay with this?
Absolutely. And I saw that too. And I've been seeing a lot of hatred, a lot of, just venomous towards this situation. He's a kid. Let's just remember that first and foremost. We're not going to talk about LeVar. Let's not even talk about Lonzo. You and I defer and different on him. Let's just talk about the kid, Lamelo. He probably made a mistake. It was his father's probably choice, to be honest. But, hey, he's a kid and he's growing up. He's becoming a man. He decided to go that route as well. But when it comes down to it, it was the wrong mistake. It was a mistake, and they had to move on and try to get better and try to improve. It's too young. He's too good. It's too early in a life. So, one mistake that young and can never go back to school, can never become college, not be able to play in the tournament, go in the NBA draft. His life, to me, was spiraling out of control. And this should give him structure. This should give him – his dream is to play in the NBA one day. And this can be an avenue to reach his dream. So I will always support that. I've made mistakes in my life. I made mistakes daily in my life. I will always forgive and forget and move on. If he tries to do things right and, doesn't take money while he's in school and picks a good school and goes to class and get good grades and pass so he can play basketball, I support him 110%. Give kids a chance. Give freedom a chance.
Well said. I agree with you. I know a lot of people are upset by it, but if there's ever a better opportunity, it's almost like people knocking Kevin Durant. Yeah, was it probably the least competitive move? Yes. But was it the best move for his career? Yes. And that's the same thing with LaMelo. It's his best shot to get back on track. And like you said, his overall goal is probably to make the NBA. Well, it's most likely going to make the NBA. Then this is the best path. Whether he does or not, that's obviously up to how he plays. But there is something I do want to say. We talked about it a little bit before we started recording, and you talked about how he does want to go to a major college, but probably not UCLA. I don't think that's a choice, Dave. I think that's because he has to. I think what the Ball family has done with UCLA has almost caused too much commotion for UCLA, and I don't think they're welcome there anymore. I'm sure they love Lonzo because he was a professional and he handled everything well with UCLA, but after the LiAngelo situation, LeVar Ball being critical of them, I'm sure that's the last thing they want is to be painted in that light. Can LaMelo still get a major offer? Yeah, but I don't think it's his choice to not go to UCLA. I'm sure UCLA said he probably knows he's not welcome there. Do you feel me on that, or do you disagree?
Oh, no, I do feel you on that, and it's probably correct. Sometimes, there's so many good things in life, and when you have a headache with something else, sometimes it's better just to walk away from it and just keep on, rolling. UCLA has a great program. They have great players in it now. They have a lot of NBA talent. Westbrook went there. Kevin Love went there. A lot of great NBA players have went through UCLA. Bill Walton, for goodness sake. So maybe it's better just to kind of move on off this ball, extravaganza, the media, all that. But I do think he's going to go to a big school. To be honest, I don't think he is going to get into Duke, a Kansas, a Michigan State, a North Carolina. I don't. But those second tier and third tier, like how about an Arizona, Ohio State, University of Florida? Not the top 4, 5, 8 schools in college basketball. That next tier, I think he will land one of those schools. The kid's got a lot of talent. I just heard a podcast I was listening to today that thinks he's still a top 10 NBA draft pick when he comes out. So they're still thinking he's going to make the league and he's going to be a prospect. So, hey, if a school like Arizona, a school like UCF, UF, they're going to give him a shot.
100% agree. Now, before we shift to Dez Bryant, Pep-Boys. International, Daytona Beach, Florida, Pep-Boys Richie will hook you up with the best deals, anything you need, from fixing your engine, checking your oil, any car needs you need, they provide it. So make sure you go. It's one stop, and you're good. Best deals. Mention Locked In when you see Richie. Pep-Boys. All right, Dave. Dez Bryant is officially a New Orleans Saints. We are all looking forward to his debut to see what he could do against Dallas eventually, and just how will he affect this team. Then he obviously, I think he tore his ACL in practice. How do you feel, before we even get into the injury, how did you like not the trade, but the signing of him on the Saints?
Absolutely loved it. It's all about situation and how many stars and all that when it fits. A team like Golden State, they can take another star. They have such a great team, and what Josh Gordon did for the Patriots, some teams like that, the Patriots can add that on. And the Saints are one of them. They were my NFC championship pick before the season started, and they're playing like it. They're awesome. I think they're the best team going right now. They have so many offensive weapons. Drew Brees, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Possibility an MVP season. I'm really excited to see who's going to win the MVP this year in the NFL. There's so many options. So I thought Dez fit perfect for them. Doesn't have to be a number one target. Catch a touchdown or two. They do play the Cowboys in a couple weeks. I was looking forward to it. I was excited for Dez. I was excited for the Saints. I am really crushed that this injury happened to him. And I'm going to go on the limb. You've had a couple bold statements so far this episode, so I'm going to have a bold statement. Dez Bryant never plays another down in the National Football League again. It's over. It's done. It took him to week 10 this year for him to get a job, and then he tore his Achilles, so he's out for a whole season, another year older from an injury. He never plays again, and this sucks. I feel bad for him. I feel sorry for him, but lock that in, cuzzo. Dez Bryant never plays football in the NFL again.
Wow. Achilles, excuse me. I said ACL earlier. But it's almost hard to disagree with you. It sounds terrible. One thing I've been a little critical of Dez is I think he believes he's still a number one option when he's not. He doesn't run the best routes. He doesn't create the most space anymore. He relied a lot on his athleticism when he was in his prime earlier in his career. But I did think this was a good fit for him. I thought it was a good fit for the Saints because being aggressive is what wins in this league. And the Saints had nothing to lose. Just to have him as, like you said, a second or third option to keep that catch that deep ball. And it was perfect for Dez. He didn't have to have the pressure of being a number one. But, yeah, it is crushing and heartbreaking to see an athlete get injured and, like you just said, a potential career-ending injury where he may never play another snap in the NFL. It is a bold statement, but it's not a crazy one. I won't be surprised if he doesn't play again. Like you said, Week 10, to just now be on a team and then have an injury where you're out for the rest of the year. And then on top of that, he's not a young kid who can just spring right back up and recover and have something to prove. He's had a pretty decent career. He's had his best years behind him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for the Saints. I guess they continue just to be great, right? I mean, you never really lost them because you never really added them to the team yet.
Exactly. I think the Saints keep on rolling. Hey, you and I both picked the Cincinnati Bengals to upset them this week, which I think is funny. But no, they're still one of the top 3, 4, 5 teams in the league. The
Dave?
NFC is stacked. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 6 weeks in the NFL. But
I have to cut
the
you off, my
Saints
man. That's our time. I have to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I promise you, it's for a good reason. Guys, that's all you guys get for tonight. Dave, it was a pleasure. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Download and subscribe. Any last words?
Hey, don't drink and drive.
And like always, stay locked in.